Let's do this. The Cult of Hockey podcast by the faithful and for the faithful. I'm David Staples of the Edmonton Journal, and I'm here tonight with Bruce McCurdy. Hey, Bruce.
Hey, David. How are you doing tonight?
Good. I like those 5 o'clock starts.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's only like 8 o'clock here, and we're rolling with the podcast. And
Yep.
I also like the score. Score in that game, 7-2. It was nice for the Oilers to actually win, kind of a laugher.
Yes.
To take one of these big leads and then extend it rather than give it up. And the Oilers have been a pretty good team as of late. And I think they kind of earned this one where things finally went their way, and they just wiped out the Pittsburgh Penguins, and they had a couple of goals against called back. Everything was going for the Oilers tonight. The grade A shots, Bruce, were 17-7 for the Oilers, with the subset of 5 alarm shots, 11-2 for Edmonton. Pittsburgh just had 2 shots. They're 2 goals.
They're 2 goals, yeah.
That was it. Bruce, this is our 2 good things, 2 bad things, and 2 numbers podcast. Why don't you start it off with your first good thing? We'll go with 2 good things each, because it was such a big win.
Yeah, okay. I'm going to go with the performance of Edmonton's fourth line, I guess. Derek Ryan between Devon Shore and Jesse Puljujarvi. I just love the game that they brought tonight. I just thought they were solid on the attack. I see 10-4 shot ratio when Puljujarvi, for instance, was on the ice, and they were just humming. They were doing everything right. They were getting pucks deep, and they were then getting on those pucks that were deep and causing turnovers and cycles and all kinds of pressure for Pittsburgh. There was one shift late in the first period where Puljujarvi had the great shot on goal. Maybe you have the timestamp there, David, from the scoring chance document.
Which period?
First
the first period.
The only grade A that didn't go in.
7:56 of the first.
Yeah, okay. Well, I invite people to go and watch Puljujarvi's entire shift from about 8:45 to 7:45 or thereabouts, and it was just textbook fantastic hockey. Like this is the talent that people have seen for years, but on display in the last few games now, and more tonight than ever. On this one shift, David Puljujarvi had the puck 7 times on his stick, and he advanced it. He dumped it in. He made a quick short pass with it. He took it along the end boards and held it against 2 Pittsburgh guys for 10 seconds on the end wall before shoveling it over to Shore so that the cycle would continue. And then after that, he got rewarded with a great setup in the slot and fired a very dangerous shot that Jerry was able to kick aside. And he circled back out, and the puck came to him again, and again he made a good pass. And with the Oilers still cycling and with heavy pressure on, he chose that moment because he was high in the zone to make his exit and make the line change so that the cycle could continue with fresher players. Like, just very good decisions all along. And you see that and your mouth just waters and you think, where is this guy? Like, it's, where has he been? Because he's got so much going for him when he's on his game, skating like he did tonight. Couldn't even finish the tap in a Broberg pass in the end. I don't know what's wrong with that with his hands within 5 feet of the net. But everything else that he did on that shift was just ace. And like I say, I invite you to just watch that shift, 8 plus minutes left in the first, and just focus on the one guy, but you see how he fits in with his teammates, and everything's moving parts, and the puck is on a string, and they're all over him. And then they did get a goal in the second period. Devon Shore, who I thought might be coming out of the lineup tonight because Klim Kostin was rumored to be back with the team. And I mean, he took the warm-up and everything, but Kostin was not activated, so Shore kept his spot, and this was after he won the vest for the last home game when he bled for the team and blocked shots, and we talked about him in that podcast. Well, I thought that might even be his last game as an Oiler. I mean, we really don't know, right? But there's certainly a universe or a million where that happens, where he loses his roster spot and he never gets a chance to reclaim it. Well, tonight he was still in there and he got a goal in what still might be his last game as an Oiler, but he started his own goal with a terrific backtrack. Brett Kulak stood the guy up in center ice, and Shore went back into his own end to recover the puck. And he cut into the middle of the ice and he made a long diagonal pass off the boards and up to Ryan on the good side of center. Ryan dumped it in. And just such a matter that when Jerry went out to the net to get it, the puck was just trickling into the trapezoid and the pressure was already on him, and he kind of panicked and made a poor pass along the wall that Puljujarvi intercepted, and Jessup made the pass across the Royal Road, and who's roaring up the wing from the play that he made at the other end but Devon Shore, and he fires one that beats Jerry and finds the back of the net. And I say, good on you, Devon Shore. If you're going out, you're going out in a blaze of glory with three really good games and rewarded on the score sheet tonight. So, but I just thought that whole line just had it going on. They had the cycle going. They had the puck on the string, and really the Oilers as a whole. The puck movement coming out of their own end of the ice was just fabulous to watch. So many good short passes, crisp passes, and just walking out into the neutral zone. And they were just on another level from Pittsburgh altogether in this game.
They seem to match up well against Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh's not a team that wants to just play park the bus hockey. They will try to score and make plays, and against the Oilers right now, that's not necessarily the best idea. It's interesting what you say about Puljujarvi, Bruce. I was looking at his the stats that we keep, the micro stats or the high resolution stats that we keep of contributions to grade A shots and mistakes on grade A shots against. And last year, he and Hyman all year were in a running battle to be who was going to be the best Oilers winger in this category. Puljujarvi he just had a really strong season. He faded as the year went on, but overall, on average, when you averaged it all out, it was a strong season of two-way hockey. This year has been the opposite. He has been one of the weakest Oilers in terms of these high resolution stats that we keep, and with one of the lowest rates of contributing to shots and making his fair share of mistakes, and not in on many goals, and on too many goals against. So I don't know what has gone on with this player. Yeah. But as you suggest, there are these tantalizing moments. And if he's used in the proper role as a glue player on a line, I think he can still really contribute to the Oilers. And, there's been some suggestion now, and I think Elliot Freeman was talking about this, how they might be reluctant to move Puljujarvi because he provides this depth. Mm-hmm. And I see it, Bruce. Like in games like this, he's the player that we were crowing last year, Oiler fans, about Ken Holland's great move and getting this player back on the team. And man, it's not too late until he's traded, I guess. And I hear Mikko Rantanen wants him on the Colorado Avalanche. He was quoted in the Finnish media talking about how he's such a great friend of Puljujarvi and what a great guy Jesse is. So, but he's still an Edmonton Oiler, and he still's got that big smile on his face. And now and then this year, he's having games like this. So good for him. As for Devon Shore, I think in a game where you play like that, it's not going to be your last game as an Edmonton Oiler. Mm-hmm. It's possible, but I think he'll play against Columbus. I mean, he's earned it. And mm-hmm. he used to be a Columbus Blue Jacket, did he mm-hmm. not? So they might want to get him in his old... Am I wrong about that? They might want to get him in his...
I remember him as Dallas, and I think he was out on the West Coast.
Let me just check
this. But it's in there somewhere.
Yeah, maybe I'm wrong. It could well be the case. But he's played well enough that he will... Yeah, he was a Blue Jacket. Bruce, I was right by 6 games. He played 6 games with the Blue Jackets.
Yeah. Well, journeyman tend to show up in a lot of places. But, I mean, tonight we were saying when we heard the Oilers had 21 guys on the ice for the warm-up, and they officially have a 20-man roster, right, with these 2 emergency call-ups. So I thought, well, that's curtains for sure if Costin's back. But my son, who's a big Costin fan, well, says the bad part about Costin coming back is Shore comes out and he's been playing great. And I'm thinking, yeah, I'd be reluctant to pull him out. And I guess I just thought, well, why bring the guy back in who's sick and maybe rusty for the guy that's that's played well. And I know there's statistical record of Shore leaves some people cold, including myself in some ways. But if you don't like the human story behind some of these guys, I mean, why are you watching? That's the best part for me is when you see some guy like Matt Berlin or Devon Shore, Zach Sturtini, or Ryan Jones, even guys I've defended in the past while they were under a barrage of criticism, and it's just fun to watch them play. Some of them, Anyway, it's fun to watch Devon Shore score tonight.
Bruce, my good thing is it should be undisputed, but the best player in the game was Connor McDavid by a long shot. And he had 2 goals, 2 assists, 4 points. That first goal that he scored, I mean, this game it turned out to be a laugher, but it was in doubt in the first period. The Oilers were down 1-0. And you just never know. You just never know what's going to happen. All of a sudden, I think it was the second power play the Oilers got of the game. Unfortunately, they were given some power plays this game. And McDavid just makes the kind of play that he regularly makes, which is just absolutely brilliant. A play few other people can make. And, he, obviously if you watch the game, you know what I'm talking about. He goes down the left wall, stick handling the puck, and he's down on the goal line and he banks from, 15 feet away, he banks the shot in off Tristan Jarry's back of his neck, the nape of his neck, and into the net. And it was just, he was aiming there. You could tell from the big grin on McDavid's face. That's exactly where he wanted to put the puck, and he was thrilled that he put it there. He was very happy with that goal.
Behind the goal line.
It was astonishing, and it made the score 1-1, and suddenly the Oilers get rolling, and they never stopped rolling. But and I think with that kind of it's the kind of goal, which is such high skill, it's got to be demoralizing for the opposition team. And I think Pittsburgh was never the same after that. The game had been very even up until then. There had been not much in the way of scoring chances for either team.
Right.
The one goal accepted for Pittsburgh and Puljujarvi's shot, that was it. But once that happened, it was just like everything changed. And it's like, oh, we're playing this guy and he can do that. And then, of course, 4 minutes later, Leon Draisaitl bats one out of the air into the net as well, just to add brilliance to brilliance. So
like a line drive off of Tony Gwynn's bat this time.
Indeed. McDavid, of course, he gets he sets up Ryan Nugent-Hopkins on a fantastic goal where McDavid gets the puck in the neutral zone, takes it in and whips it over. It makes this incredible spin, hard stop and spin to his backhand, which is probably the hardest skating maneuver in hockey, especially when you're trying to control the puck. It is so hard to execute a play like that, and no one does it better than Connor McDavid. Those kind of hard stops, those hard spins, and he does that, and he sets up Nugent Hopkins for a fantastic shot.
They're 270-degree spins. He did the same thing when he split those 2 defenders the other night. Looks like he's spinning one way, and he actually winds up 180 degrees opposed from the first 90-degree spin. He just comes out going the other direction, and the defenders are just flummoxed. And then, of course, Nuge wires that shot.
What a shot!
Off the post. I mean, talk about making the point. Wow.
You're just really on fire. And then, of course, there's the penalty shot goal. My only complaint is at that point is, why is McDavid still playing in the game? I thought they should have sat him down. But nonetheless, he gets the penalty shot and puts it in. And you knew, I just had a feeling he was going to score on that one because he was probably ticked off about Dumoulin's hard play on him at the net there. And he's thinking, all right, you're going to do that. I'm scoring. Like you are not, I will not be denied. And he was not denied. He made a brilliant move and deked out the goalie, stick handled around the goalie and scored the goal. So a 4-point night. 4-point night, Bruce. He now has 109 points in 59 games. His points per game, I think, is 1.85 per game now. He actually had a season, the lockout, the COVID season, where they played just 56 games against other Canadian teams. He had 1.88. But he's closing in on that in terms of his play this year. So.
Well, that's his first 4-point game in 2023. And I think in the 2022 portion of the season, I think he had 7 of them. One 5-point game at Seattle right before New Year's.
Yeah.
But a whole bunch of 4-point games. And then in this year, his rate has been going down. His points per game is, it was 2 for a while and it's come down, what'd you say, 1.8 now? So
1.85.
Yeah. Okay. So, not a slump exactly, but a lower rate. But he wasn't getting the big nights like this. Now all of a sudden we got a 3 and a 4 back to back, and he looks back and fully engaged. I like his defensive game tonight, and my wife's been saying for a week. She says every time I look at Connor's eyes, I think he's one of the ones that's sick. And she's a former kindergarten teacher. She knows sick guys, but she's seen her share of them, and I've heard her say it before and have it been proven out. So, and and just by his performance, right? He was underperforming. We gave him a couple 4s along the way. He was, he was struggling a little bit, and he was getting his points, here and there, but one at a time kind of thing. Well, tonight he got a 4-pack, and he was fully, 2 brilliant goals and 1 brilliant assist. Start with that. And, he wasn't even picked one of the 3 stars on Sportsnet. Can you believe it?
Yeah, well, they were just having some fun, I guess. I don't know. Picking the unsung heroes.
They did. And all those guys kind of deserved the recognition, but there was one guy that had to be on the marquee at the end of that game.
If there's a cold going around, Connor McDavid is catching it. Yeah, he's like, it's just like, how many times did he catch? He probably caught COVID like 7 or 8 times. He does get a lot of colds, and he gets them bad. Bruce, what is your second good thing amundo?
Yeah, okay. My second good thing is just an instant of the game, and this was the shot pass that Darnell Nurse made on what proved to be the game-winning goal by Kailer Yamamoto. And this was an instantaneous sort of recognition of the play. Darnell came in off the blue line to pick up a loose puck, and Yamamoto was sort of crowding the crease and looked like Nurse had a clear shot at the net, but he glanced up and he saw Hyman in the low slot, sort of between the circles in front. And so Nurse wound up, and I'm pretty sure it was even in his backswing that he may have sort of changed his idea of where he was going to shoot it, and he deliberately shot sort of 5 to 10 feet wide of the net, but directly for Hyman. Like, he made the sort of clear decision. It's a slapper, but it's a slap pass, and he put it right on Hyman's tape, and Hyman tipped it into Jerry and kind of through Jerry, and then Yamamoto was on the spot to pound home the loose biscuit. But it just impressed me with Nurse's read of the play and his execution of the pass. 2 things he is constantly being accused of not being able to do. And that play, it just stood out to me in an offensive context in this play. But boy, he was all over the ice in this game. And he was stripping Pittsburgh guys of pucks left and right in this game.
He dominated this game, Bruce.
Yep.
I'd give him an 8 or a 9. I mean, there was the one deflected in goal off him that didn't count, fortunately. But, and, he was caught out at the end, was part of the group caught out at the end on that nice passing play by Pittsburgh when everyone was kind of giving up anyway. But he made 5 major contributions to grade A shots at even strength, and he kept a clean sheet himself, not one major mistakes at evens. He just had an outstanding game. I'd give him an 8 or a 9. Yeah. It was one of his best games of the season, and what I think, and this is going to be a controversial season, I think has been his best season. I think there's a lot to like in Darnell Nurse's game this year. I think he's cutting down slightly on the major mistakes he makes as a defensive player, which is impressive considering the level of competition that he plays. And his offensive game is still top drawer. Like he's still doing what he always does. He's not
5 shots tonight.
He's not he's not the power play leader on the team. That's not his game, but he is such a fantastic two-way hockey player, such a dynamic player. And, he's had a few slumps, defensive slumps, especially this year. And we've been on his case a few times, but overall, Bruce, I think he's taken his game slightly higher level. And it's been, I think, his best two-way season. A lot of people will hate that because there's lots of people do not like.
Makes too much money, David, and that defines everything. Once a guy is if he doesn't live up to the amount of his contract, he is open to a flood of criticism. This is something I learned on the internet. All guys are measured against their contract, which of course something I already knew. But sometimes you paid for the team. This is the team. Why don't we as fans root for the team? That's kind of what I do. And, I might not like this contract or that, but if the guy's on the team, go guy, Yeah.
Here's what I would say about defensemen in general, Bruce. I do think Edmonton hockey fans have as at least as high a level of knowledge as any hockey fans in the world, maybe the highest level. We're total fanatics. But defensemen are notoriously hard to rate, and people are notoriously bad at rating them. 2 things are going on at once. And what you'll find is with defensemen, people are all over the place. There's a general consensus, I think, about almost every forward that most people will agree with. Puljujarvi accepted. But with defensemen, there's factions of people who think Nurse is the best defenseman, and there's factions who think he's the worst. Evan Bouchard's the same. Cody Cece's the same. Kulak is the same. There is no agreement at all on the value of defensemen in this market, in the Edmonton market. People just don't agree, and they see different things. They go by different stats, and it just leads to what we find on the internet is this clusterfuck of varying opinions. And I'm not going to say most of them are wrong, but they are. I just think that people get it wrong with the defensemen and how they rate them. But that's just my take. I think I don't think they're looking at the right things.
All the players have their positives and their negatives. And it's true that when you measure them against the salary cap, you're probably going to say that guy is under or overperforming. Well, there's got plenty of guys that are overperforming their contracts too. And
Darnell Nurse was one of them for about 8 years.
Yes, every year until this year.
Exactly.
For sure. And now now he's into his UFA years, and the worm's turned. But there's no reason to hate on the guy. Geez, all he's done is play his ass off for Edmonton Oilers for 8 years now.
Yeah, was looking at Nugent's 12 years with the Oilers. So Bruce, my second good thing is someone else who's taken some heat for his contract, Warren Foegele.
Mm-hmm. But
I'm going to suggest Warren Foegele he's earning his pay at this point. Based on a run, his last month has been really strong. Mm-hmm. In 44 games, he now has 10 goals, 6 assists, and 16 points. No power play time to speak of. Some power play time now and then, but he's on the penalty kill.
On the second unit, which is no power play time at all, really.
Yeah, he's on the penalty kill and he's doing okay there. But at even strength, he is finally. This is the kind of play in the last month we're seeing the Foegele kind of expected to see the whole time, which is a pretty physical player, fast, with a nose for the net and a decent shot. The shot's actually been better in the last little while than I ever expected from Fogle. He's been firing some hard shots at net, and he fired another one tonight off a brilliant pass by Leon Draisaitl. Just a fantastic feed from Draisaitl that hung up the Pittsburgh defender who would have loved to block that pass, I'm sure, but Fogle just rifled it in. But Warren Fogle is earning his, what is it, $2.75 million per contract, which is slightly under the NHL average. He's capable of playing in the Oilers' top nine and doing a good job there. He's become part of this team in a big way, and to the point, Bruce, where when someone needed to criticize the team after they gave up their last 4-1 lead, who was that against?
Colorado.
Mm-hmm. It was Warren Fogle who was on all of the. He was the one who stood up and said, "We got to have some shorter shifts, and we have to have some better positional awareness when we get up." And he was calling out the biggest stars in that hockey team when he said that. Good for Warren Fogle.
He wasn't wrong.
And he wasn't wrong. And but that takes some. He didn't do it by name. He just did it by implication. And it was justified. He just told it like it was. So good for Warren Fogle, both on and off the ice here. He's coming through for the team.
I was going to mention the same thing about the criticism, and I was saying he was, maybe almost the perfect guy to be doing that. Like he was one of these role players down the lineup that have been, they've been performing well. As has been noted increasingly in the local media and hockey chat generally, the Oilers with McDavid and Draisaitl on the bench are starting to heavily outscore the opposition. And when you go through the stats, you see that the first line is getting its goals, but they're getting pounded on the goals against, and nobody else is. And I will say I do think that both of the big stars have been less than 100%, as mentioned before.
Yeah.
But the time had come to let's pay attention to the 200-foot game, and I would say these last two games, both McDavid and Draisaitl have done a dandy job of that, and and they're getting the puck more because they're winning it, and then they're doing something with the puck. Like I think it helps their offense when their defensive game is top notch. So anyway, Fogle, he's up to 10 goals now on the season.
Yeah.
He's game 59. He's like 0 power play goals. I think he might have got a shorty he's up to, what's he got now?
16 points in 44 games, 10 goals.
Goals per 60. McDavid 145, Costin 1.35, Kane 1.13, Fogle 1.07, Ryan 1 goal per 60, Nugent Hopkins 0.92, Ryan McLeod 0.91, and then there's Draisaitl at 0.79. So he's like fourth on the team in goals per 60 at 5-on-5, and of course that's most of his game. He's not a big special teams contributor, but he's becoming a scorer and an outscorer at 5-on-5. And he's a 10 to 15 goal man. Well, guess what? He's right on that pace now after having a pretty wretched start. Like most of those goals have been relatively recently. Indeed.
Bruce, what is your bad thing?
Yeah, I'm going to go with the first Pittsburgh goal early in the game, and it was thought the Oilers had a quick start. Then all of a sudden things started to come unglued for a little bit, and not for very long. But on this one play, the puck was shot in. It got through Philip Broberg's stick, and it went into the corner. And Broberg went and he engaged his man there, as he does, and the puck got, I think, passed up the boards by Pittsburgh, and Broberg followed his man to the front of the net, number 16 on Pittsburgh, which was Jason Zucker. And it was hard to tell exactly, like they kind of interacted as they sort of were pushing against each other. And just as the pass came through, I think it came through Bouchard's lane onto the stick of Letang, and Stuart Skinner tried to go with Letang as he cut across the face of the net, but his pad and Broberg's skate got hooked up, and Skinner just went down, and Letang just wound up having the open net. And on the live view, both my son and I are both going, "What are you doing, Stu?" Just fell
Yes.
down. But
Yeah.
close examination of the replay, but Broberg sort of gets turned around by Zucker a little bit, and his right skate hooks uh, uh, Skinner's left pad, and Skinner's got nowhere to go really but down. So it's a bad thing. It was not obviously Broberg's finest moment, but also just a little bit unlucky, and it just turned what wasn't a great play, but it turned it into basically a gift goal when the two Oilers got clashed up on that goal mouth thing. So
Yeah, it was
not a
already
real bad thing. I mean, there weren't that many bad things in this game, but that one kind of stood out, especially when it was 1-0 for them.
Especially in the first minute of the game, here we go again. And, it was a tough play. Draisaitl lost a battle behind the net to Malcolm. And then Bouchard was unable to cut out the pass. It was already a really dangerous chance before Philip Broberg hit the goalie, because Letang had come down the slot and he was wide open. And it was a tough play for Draisaitl, because Malkin was in on him, and he tried to pass the puck, and his arms got jolted as he was passing it. And then it's a tough play for Bouchard too, because it's very quickly developing, and he just couldn't cut out the pass. But these are NHL players, and that's what they're supposed to do. And Bruce, my bad thing is I don't really. There wasn't a lot of bad things, so I'm just going to go with the call on Matthias Janmark. I don't know how that's a penalty. He's standing there not wanting to go over the blue line, and a defenseman on Pittsburgh back skates right into him, and they call Janmark for the penalty. You're allowed to hold your ice, your ground in hockey, and that is not a penalty. Janmark was telling the official that is not a penalty, and it wasn't a penalty. So I don't, it's a sneaky play on a certain level, because I think he knew what he was doing. He sees the defenseman backing up, and he's going to go stand behind him. Doesn't matter.
Well, he had to stand up at the blue line, or he would have been offside, right?
He did as well. But I think even if he wasn't near the blue line, I think you're allowed to do that. The defense, the players have to be aware of who's on the ice and where they are. You're allowed to stand where you stand, and if someone runs into you, that's not your fault. So I didn't think that was a very good call from the refs. So that's my bad thing.
Especially when Leon was breaking in between the mile-wide defense pair and were about to go in for a great chance on goal. This was 15 seconds after the Oilers had made it 4-1. And it was reminded me very much of the really cheesy penalty they called on Friday night when the Oilers went up 3-0 on Rangers. And the very next shift after, they scored 2 right in a row. And then the very next shift after that, there was a real chintzy penalty called that stopped the bleeding. In fact, Rangers scored on that power play to begin their comeback. And in both cases, I said the same thing: 2 minutes for game management. The Oilers are getting, they're in the ascendant. They're starting to take charge. We better slow them down somehow. Oh, there's a sort of a penalty. Let's call that. Come on, refs.
All righty, Bruce, what's your number?
Yeah. Well, my number's kind of similar to yours, so I'm actually just going to use it in support of yours. And I'm just going to take my number tonight is 25 minutes and 37 seconds. That's Darnell Nurse's ice time in a game where every other Oiler was under 20 minutes and over 10 minutes. So they really spread the ice time around with the 11 forward 7D system, but all the D got time. Desharnais was the least at 10:20, and McDavid was the second most at 19:32, but towering high above that was Darnell Nurse, who was just skating beautifully in this game, really skated well. And I think, that flexor thing that he had in the fall was still not 100%. And I think he is skating better now. And that's such a big part of his game that I'm hoping and thinking I'm seeing an actual surge in his play, but how long it maintains and sustains, we'll have to see. So an assist +2, 5 shots on net from the back end, 3 hits, which were both highs for Oilers blue liners. And as I mentioned earlier, just so many little plays, one battles that, of course, we don't have a count on other than he came out with the puck an awful lot in one-on-one showdowns tonight. So, but I'll just go with the ice time as being the number.
My number, Bruce, revolves around the Oilers' incredible streak in the last 17 games. And they have the second highest points percentage in the NHL in that time period. The only better team in the last 17 games, which is about almost 2 months of NHL this is play from January 10th, is the Carolina Hurricanes. The Hurricanes have they have a points percentage of 844.844. The Oilers is 0.794. The Oilers have in that time just one regulation loss. They've got 11 wins and then 6. They lost 6 in overtime or shootout. So, but they've gotten points in 16 of 17 games, and their goal differential in this time period, Bruce, their overall goal differential this year is 30, I think, but in this 17 games, it's been plus 29 goals. So all of this great goal differential has come in these last 17 games. They've scored 4.6 goals per game in this time period. The next best is the Hurricanes at 4.1 goals per game. So the Oilers' offense is just absolutely ignited. And as you say, McDavid's only had the one 4-point game. So it's not just built around the power play. It's all through the lineup. It's all through this team. And I guess the bottom 6 players got tired of hearing about how the Oilers needed to pick up 1 or 2 bottom 6 forwards at the trade deadline if the team's going to do anything, because it suddenly becomes a weird trade deadline when you're going into it on such a hot streak, because unless you're going to get a really good player, almost, why are you getting any player? Because you have all kinds of role players. You might want a depth player, I guess, right? But you don't want to give up too much for that player, because you've got suddenly your depth players, Fogle, Ryan, Costin, McLeod, Janmark. These players are all playing strong hockey, strong two-way hockey. So Puljujärvi's capable of it. So it's an interesting time, an interesting decision that Ken Holland's going to have to make. And it's almost like, I think, if you can't get Kulak's been playing better also. Philip Broberg's been playing really well. If you can't get Vinny DeHarnay's been playing well. If you can't get a star player, why do anything? Is kind of what I'm thinking at this point, because these other players, they've earned their spots on this team. They're earning their spots game in, game out. And would be almost like in terms of team spirit, a slap in the face to that whole concept of this team, which is coming together in an interesting way. If they can get goaltending, Bruce, because that's one thing that has still been inconsistent, is the goaltending. This team is a juggernaut at this point. There's been some defensive issues with the top line, as you point out, but the bigger issue, I think, has still been goaltending. And if that comes together, and we're seeing signs that may happen, I just think, I started out this year thinking I think the Oilers are Stanley Cup contenders. They were in the Final Four last year. There's no reason they shouldn't be better this year. And that's what we're seeing this now, and it's gratifying for me, to see that. That's what I wanted to see. It's what I hope to see, and it's what we're seeing.
Right on. Well, here's my supporting number of your number, which I had this in mind before we started the podcast, but I just took the straight on calendar date of January 1st rather than picking the time they got hot, like the calendar year 2023.
Yeah.
And we have the Oilers with 12 wins, 3 losses, and 6 other losses. And they didn't win one overtime game. They got all 6 of their. They lost all, meaning every point they actually earned they earned all the points in regulation time. The ties that they got. Right?
Yeah.
30 points in 21 games. So 12-3-6, that's their record in regulation as well. 7-14 for the Oilers. And that is first in the Western Conference. Seattle Kraken, 652. Colorado, 650. Los Angeles, 632. Nashville, 600. Like, we're talking, the Oilers are gaining ground on everybody in the West. And since New Year's, they've been the best team in the West by some margin. And maybe we should sort of take a step back and recognize that when we're saying, why is the team still in a wild card? Well, it's fighting for a playoff spot. They've been doing really well for a really long time now. And instead we hear, well, if Ken Holland isn't in on the next player who's going to get traded, well, I'm not going to be happy about it because he needs to really be doing his job. I thought his job was to build a team that could win games, and the team is winning games, or at least tying games, and moving up the standings. And, this is pretty sustained. What's this, February 23rd? So we're talking about almost 8 weeks of calendar 2023. And, I mean, you could set the deadline before, Christmas if you prefer, and I'm sure you'd find the same thing. Edmonton in first place in the West over that span. And first place in the West, doesn't that sound pretty good? Sounds pretty good to me.
Sounds pretty good to me. I think my final thought, Bruce, is what I think we're going to see with the goaltending is the old win and you're in kind of attitude, which is exactly the right attitude with these two goalies. If you win the game, you get the next game, and go from there. And hopefully, Skinner's been pretty solid all year long. Campbell's been generally down with one good month. As the exception to the rule, but that good month was fairly recent, so maybe he can recapture that and start. He has kept on winning games. He's won games all along.
Tying games. The last three.
Games. Yeah,
but he's 9-0-3. He hasn't lost a game that he started in regulation in 2023. Jack Campbell. It's incredible, and I'll tell you the reason. He's played 12 games that he started, and the Oilers have scored 62 goals in those 12 games, an average of 5.17 goals per game, which is like the 80s Oilers used to do. It prorates to 413 goals per 80, which I said it to per 80 and not per 82 because literally I was comparing it to the 80s Oilers, and they scored 12 games that Campbell started, and the Oilers have scored at least 4 goals in 12 out of 12 games. So that's where those 5-4 shootout losses are really rankling people this last week, because the team was scoring and they still couldn't quite score enough to win, but they got results. And it's so Campbell's, whatever reason, but so I was pleased to see Oilers score 3 for Skinner in the third period the other night. Delighted to see him get the converted touchdown in this game. Like, that's some real goal support for the other guy. Like, it had really been a weird. Like, I think Skinner had 5 goals in support in his last 3 games, and Campbell was getting like 5 goals every game.
Yeah,
sort of what's going on with the two. So anyway, Skinner
it was
plenty of goal support tonight.
It was a Pittsburgh Steelers kind of win from the 70s, Bruce, tonight. Shut him down on defense, and Franco Harris bowling over the goal line for the touchdown. All right, Bruce, thanks for talking tonight.
Joe Green and Jack Lambert leading the charge on defense, eh?
I think I can name the entire Steel Curtain defense.
L.C. Greenwood.
Dwight White. Ernie Holmes.
Yes.
Jack Ham. Jack Lambert.
Right.
Who are the cornerbacks? Yeah. Maybe I'm gonna fail on the defensive backs. Just having a hard time thinking. Who are the defensive backs on that team? Wagner.
I'm thinking of the front 7 myself. I was a big Steelers fan I still am technically, but I don't change loyalties, David. The only team I ever bailed on was the Toronto Maple Leafs. I got into the league with the Oilers, and I had season tickets to the Oilers, and I had this exciting young team. They got in the same league as Toronto, and I thought I'm going to have to choose. Wayne Gretzky, Harold Ballard. Tough choice. So
was Mel Blunt on that team? Was Mel Blunt on that team, or was he a Raider? Cornerback.
Yeah, I think I think yes. Yes,
I don't know. I'm thinking he's a Raider. Anyway,
my memory is starting to slide on some of these ancient details, but I can tell you that the first points the Pittsburgh Steelers ever scored in this Super Bowl was a safety. So when they won they beat the Vikings, I think it was 16-6 in 74. So
the actual steel curtain is just defined as the defensive line. Actually,
right. Yes.
Is okay. Oh no. Oh, okay. Here we go.
Greenwood.
We missed Mel Blount was on that team.
Yeah.
Andy Russell was another linebacker.
He was the other linebacker. Yeah.
I'm called JT Thomas. That name is not ringing a bell with me. But all right, Bruce. Thanks for talking tonight.
Yeah. Thanks for listening, everyone. Mandatory 70s sports references and all.
Galore. And in the meantime, and in between times, this has been another edition of the Cult of Hockey podcast.